Hello, everyone. Welcome to Turf Without Borders, the show where we discuss how golf courses are maintained all around the world. In this episode, we are going to Finland to talk with Janne Lehto, the master greenkeeper and golf course manager from Hirsala Golf. Welcome to the show, Janne.
Thank you very much for the invite, Micah.
It
It's
is
going to be fun.
It it sure is, because Finland is a place that has some beautiful golf courses, but I certainly didn't know very much about it until I had the chance to go there to the Finnish Greenkeepers Association conference a couple of years ago. And it was really interesting, some of the challenges that you deal with. And I think on this show, we try to give a broad perspective on what the challenges are, what the fun things are, what the solutions are, what greenkeepers around the world are doing to solve problems and produce beautiful golfing surfaces. So let's kick it off and ask you, at Hirsala Golf, how many holes are you managing at that golf course?
We have 18 holes here and a practice area.
What year did the course open?
We opened in 2007.
2007. So this would be the 18th season, something
Yeah,
approaching the 20th anniversary.
yeah, that's right.
How many rounds are played in 1 year?
Um, we get about just over 30,000 rounds. We try to manage it at 30. Um, Seems like this year we're gonna be closer to 35. Looks like that.
35,000. In my mind, I was thinking a lower number. What is your golfing season? What is the open and closing date?
Yeah, Hirsala is located down south in Finland, but on average we open in mid-April. We normally close in mid-October, so that's our regular season. But this year has been a bit of an exception in the start. So we opened on 7th of March, um, which was the earliest by a month and a half on the golf course during the 18 years. So
So thus the extra 5,000 rounds or so.
I would assume so. Yeah, people are crazy in the spring. It just whenever the golf course is open, they just fill it up.
And when they're filling the course up, are they teeing off on just the first hole, or do you do a two tee start where they're teeing off on both 1 and 10?
Oh, we do 1 and 10 on the golf course. Yeah, and
Okay, so
yeah,
so then that of course makes it more difficult to get the maintenance done ahead of play. And so I wonder, what's your how many staff you have to take care of the course?
yeah, you're totally right, and we're actually battling with that issue at the moment, trying to figure out the best way for the greenkeepers to move around, not get stuck with the golfers. So we actually book in tee times now for the greenkeepers at 6:15 to 6:30, or we'll just move in that gap. Um, but yeah, we are 18 people at the moment, uh, quite a big team. I would say would be one of the biggest teams in Finland. Um, and also considering that we're using a lot of robotics on the golf course as well. So
That's right. We have a ATC double cut episode about that, and we also have a video only cart rides with Micah video where we discuss that. And when we discuss that, I think you were 100% fairways and almost 100% rough.
yeah,
And is it the same? Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. How much of the course is mowed by robotic mowers?
yeah, we actually this year we increased the amount of robots. So um, it's all the fairways 100%, all the roughs 100%, and now also the tees on the golf course are mowed with robotics. So we are only left basically with mowing the greens with our green stuff.
So you do triplex mowers on the greens or
Now just
walking?
hand cut walking. Yeah.
Okay. Are those electric or gasoline?
That's gasoline still. I think within our next fleet change, we're looking to bring electric mowers on the greens as well, because being sustainable, minimizing the inputs on the golf course, that's one of the things that we really try to be good at. So
So now the question comes to mind: if you have 100% of the tees, fairways, and rough mowed with robotic auto mowers, what what does that free up 18 people to do? Because they're not all sitting on mowers, obviously.
uh, yeah, uh, we actually were 16 people before we started playing with the robotics. We because that freed up some of the budget, so I've been able to actually invest into the team as well. So now we're a couple more, um, but the people are doing a lot of details, a lot of handwork, hand watering, improving the playing surfaces. I have 4 people almost full time throughout the year on kind of construction slash renovation. So we have an ongoing master plan of the golf course where we're doing improvements. Um, so yeah, a lot of that kind of things, a lot of customer service side. So we try to make the golf course even better experience for the customers. So just focusing on details like that.
Yeah, very, very, very cool. Um, I how how many courses are there in Finland?
It's about 150 golf courses.
Are there other courses in Finland that are at a similar level of robotic usage?
I think not quite yet, uh, but they're really following up fast. So we've seen this year a lot of investment into the robotics. So there's been a couple of golf courses that bought a full fleet of them. Just now, a new 36-hole golf course released. They bought a 40-unit fleet of robotics, so they're gonna cover all of it. So yeah, it's definitely booming at the moment.
How many years have you been using these in in a sense of using them for everyday maintenance and not just testing them, but really really utilizing them?
Yeah, our journey started with testing, so that was 2019. But then I would say 21 could be the first actual year where we got all the green surrounds, some of the rough areas covered. So 21 would have been the first year when I actually um, was able to sell some of our old mowers out, kind of go really into that transition.
So you're in the fifth year now of really using, and I guess it's mostly positive, right? Your assessment of these type of machines.
Yeah, mm, yes. Obviously with everything new, there comes a bit of complications on the way. We just try to learn out of those and maybe figure out new ways of working around them. But mainly positives, yeah. Uh, Maybe biggest hurdles on the golf course, we didn't have electricity when we started. So that was an infrastructure hurdle. But then getting the whole staff involved, getting them educated on running that fleet, I think that's been the biggest task within our team. So
For your team, you said 18 people now.
mm,
Is that including seasonal staff or is that year round? And
um,
also, how many assistants do you have? Do you have women on the crew? And those questions come to mind also.
yeah, um, it's 18 people, including all those summer casuals and seasonals. Um, I would say we are a core group of 4 to 5 people who work year round. So we do a lot of property maintenance, machinery maintenance. Um, all the bigger renovations are kind of tried to be done before snowfall in November, December, and yeah, that's the core group. And then we have about 4 people who come here kind of regularly every season, long season, so 7 months, um, and then just summer casuals. But it's me, my assistant superintendent, then I have a mechanic full time. I have a new role of automation specialist, so he only focuses on the robotics and the irrigation tech. So that will be the core group. Is there something else? Female.
Yeah.
So we have two female in the team. One of them is full time, and one of them is um, in assistant in training program, becoming hopefully my second assistant pretty soon in the club. So yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Um, a little bit more about getting the work done on such a busy course. Do you have maintenance closure days, uh, like a day during the week where the course is closed, where you can maintain?
Nothing like that. It's a short season. Every single hour of golf is being maximized. Um, so it's just within our maintenance at the moment, we try to kind of minimize all the disruption that we can, but still create that playing surface out there. Um, so even finding a location or timing for an aeration day, that's becoming difficult. Um, but it's everywhere, I guess. But just trying to manage that money flow coming into the club, and yeah, it's kind of hectic.
I can imagine. What time does your team start in the morning?
We've been playing around with it, but it's 6 o'clock. That's what we try to stick with. Um, we still have a lot of people playing in the evening, late in the evening. So it's still balancing whether we start our irrigation at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock in the night, and how long that needs to run in the morning, so we can get back onto the course. Um, I think that's an ongoing discussion all the time with the club on whether we can start earlier or we can start irrigation earlier in the evening. So yeah,
Yeah, because you've got that watering window. So yeah, I understand.
yeah,
You have to allow either can start the irrigation earlier in the evening, and
mm,
then it finishes, so you can start early in the morning, or you have to
mm,
push. You can allow the golfers to continue playing into the evening,
yeah.
and in in the longer days of the year, what time does it get dark there?
Um, Maybe after midnight, but you could still see your golf ball, so you could still play if you wanted to. Uh, but at around one a.m. 2 a.m. it gets darkish. Uh, but if you climb up more northern Finland, I know they're fully booked during the night as well. So there's a golf course in Oulu, and I think they really work that way that they book an hour of tee times for the crew, just so they can once in a day get through the golf course because it gets so busy.
And so you're saying you get a few 15-minute blocks, or you get one 15-minute block, something like that?
Yeah, at the moment it's I think 6:12 when we our team is on the first green or the first hole, and until 6:30 there's block tee time. So we try to work in that gap and hope the first tee time after us is not too fast.
And what's the first tee time before you? Are there tee times at like 5 or anything like that?
Yeah, we have 5:30 tee time, and that's pretty much every day it's booked. Especially when it gets hot, it was kind of well, for our scale it was hot, but over plus 30, so a lot of people book their early tea time so they can play in a cooler weather.
Wow, that's so interesting. So interesting. Well, I guess, yeah, I went to the park at 5 a.m. this morning to go for a run. And also, that's when in Bangkok it's really crowded before the sun comes up because it's a little bit cooler then. Um, I I will ask, your job title is golf course manager, and who do you report to?
We have a CEO at the club, um, so yeah, I report to him. but it's kind of a double double role for me because I'm a board member as well. So he kind of reports to the board. So it's a funny situation, but we manage it really well, and we have a really open relationship. So it goes really well.
If you're a board member, does that mean you're a part owner of the club as well?
Yeah, I'm a share owner as well.
That's that's a unique situation.
It is. It's a location I've been attached when I started my career into 2011. So uh, started as a summer casual, and then quite quickly found out this is gonna be my thing. So really went to study more and got more and more deeper into the industry. So yeah, um, the club has been kind of there from the start.
What grass types are you growing?
Um, to start from the greens, we are creeping bentgrass and original greens what we have from 20 or 2007 or seeded in 2006, but um, still almost 100% creeping bent, kind of bore free. Then others would be fine fescue mix with poor pretensis, so Kentucky bluegrass. Um, I think the original mix when they seeded the whole golf course, so roughs, fairways, tees, was 50-50 with fine fescues and poor pretensis. But we, with our management and focusing on the sustainable minimal input management, we've been kind of pushing towards the fine fescues and overseeding them and dropping down the nutrient levels on the golf course.
Yeah, I think what I've seen in America is if you don't put a lot of nitrogen on Poa pratensis, I don't think it's going to thrive.
Mm.
And so I can imagine that if you have fine fescue and Poa pratensis side by side, as you reduce the nitrogen, I would expect the fine fescue would be relatively more competitive.
It is. So when I started, it was the other way around. So there was a lot of inputs, a lot of watering as well, and that was 2017. So now it's been, I think it's the ninth year for um, my watch here. So we it changed a lot. So yeah, we are mostly fine fescues now.
What's the number one complaint that you hear from golfers?
Oh, that would be our meadows. So the heavy rough. Yeah,
Okay.
we have that heavy rough around the golf course. We try to create the visuals to be as natural as possible, have the nature kind of integrate into the golf course. Um, and overall, our golf course, when it was constructed, it's quite narrow on the fairways. There's not much rough areas. It's outside of that, it's rocky woodlands and heather and uh, and grassy areas or wild grasses. So I think that becomes the most difficult thing to manage, not making it too hard for the level of golfers here. But
Right.
yeah, the
So
biggest complaint would be the heavy
so it
rough.
and 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 the difficulty in finding a golf ball in those areas.
Yes, that's right. Making the play slow. When we introduced the robotics, it kind of comes back to that, um, which I actually feel as well helps with the fine fescue strategy. Um, we just extended our fairways, so we're basically just cutting short grass everywhere, trying to create as interesting golf with the shaping of the fairways as possible, so the ball is moving along the ground. Um, but that also moves the ball outside from the fairways sometimes. Um, so now we're cutting a strip of rough to just stop it. So previously, in the start of the year, it was just short grass and then a heavy meadow, heavy grass. So and we had a really rainy start of the year, so all that heavy stuff became really lush. So yeah, just managing that.
What nitrogen rates do you use on the different surfaces?
On the greens, we'd be about between 70 to 80 kilos per hectare per year. And on the fairways, I think we're close to 20 to 30 kilos per hectare per year. Rough is not really fertilized at all. Tees would be a bit higher, about 100, I would say, just to manage that wear and tear. Have a bit of like higher growing rate.
I'll translate that real quick for those who aren't familiar with kilograms per hectare units. The tees are getting about 2 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet. The fairways getting about a half pound. The roughs are not getting much, if any, and the greens getting about 1.5 pounds per year of nitrogen. What mowing heights do you have on greens, fairways, tees, and and then tell me how those robotic mowers, what the current options are for setting the height, please.
Yeah. Greens at the moment we are 2.8, and I think that's millimeters, so that's as low 2.8.
2.8. Wow,
Yeah, so
that
that
is
would be
low.
as low as we go. Um, Golf in Finland, like in general, is quite cheap. In my opinion, in the global scale, you pay, let's say, 1,000 to 1,500 euros a year, and you have a playing rights on a golf course. You can play as much as you like. Green fees would be about 50 to 100 euros, and still, I think the players they want really good surfaces, really fast greens for that money, and that's what we try to produce within our budget. And our daily speed would be about 10 and a half to 11, so that's what we pretty much need to achieve to get good enough feedback from the players
So that they
and
complain
get them
about the
playing.
meadows instead of complaining about the green speed.
Yeah, that's right. If they complain about the meadows, everything is good on the golf course. uh, but yeah, that's the greens. We mow them 3 times a week. We mow them Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Um, Not mowing during the weekend because of the hours would be too expensive for us. We just roll through the weekend. We top dress every Friday to keep up the speed over the weekend. Just a really dusting on the greens after mow, um, and roll every other day. So that's keeping us up to the speed, and the growth rate of the greens is it's really slow. Um,
Do you
and one of
measure
the
the clipping volume?
Yeah, we do. Um, we would be My goal rate would be about, well, we give it be 15, 5 liters and 10 liters per green on 600 square meter greens. That would be what we are trying to aim for. That's what we're kind of measuring here.
Okay.
So if you go over 10 liters over that 2 day period, um, we know it's too much to keep that speed up. And one of the kind of things that make that possible is actually not having dollar spot on the golf course, which is all in our location, in our climate. So we don't have to battle against dollar spot, which I assume is being kind of one of the key diseases for low fertility management, low growth rates. So that's been kind of my thoughts. But um, that's the greens, fairways, tees. We try to manage everything at 10 millimeters. So managing that with the robotics, because we have a fleet of 24 units, they all might be doing a slightly different height of cut with with a different grass species composition on different location, different ground um, moisture. So we just try to set them up so they are all the same. Whether the robot is actually set up to 13 mil or 6 mils, it doesn't matter. Uh, we try to achieve that 10 millimeters on the surface.
Okay, so just like with a real mower, we're not terribly concerned about the bench setting. We're concerned about the bench setting in order to produce the effective height of cut and the visual appearance that we want. And you're doing the same technique with the robotic mowers.
Yeah, yeah. So we're just looking at it with a prism and trying to match everything on the golf course as close as we can. We also have different types of robotics, so they're not all the same model. So that also makes it kind of, I don't say difficult, but makes another kind of dimension to it.
So that's why you need an automation specialist.
Yeah, that's right. I need a person to watch after them, and we actually operate so that he comes in the morning normally from 6 o'clock. Um, then I have another guy who's they're doing other tasks on the golf course as well, but another guy who's in charge of the robots from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. And then another guy comes at 3 p.m. and he works until 11 p.m. So we almost 24/7, not during the night, have someone to watch after the robots. So if anything gets stuck, there's a problem with the blades or something like that, we just keep them running because that creates the quality on the golf course as well.
And
So
do those
yeah,
robots work generally? If the grass is, if you're in the active growing season and the grass is growing quickly, are those just operating nonstop and then they go to recharge, but they're going 24 hours a day?
yeah, 24 hours a day, and we try to with our fleet we've tried to maximize the capacity of a single unit, so they're covering as big of an area as they can. Uh, but yeah, 24/7.
Do you do coring and cultivation on the greens?
Mm, when I started here, um, we had a really bad issue with tats or super spongy greens. Um, hadn't been hollow cored since the beginning, so it was 10 years without coring and not enough top dressing, using too much fertilizers. So yeah, that's the starting point. So we started off with coring them 3 times a year with a 10 millimeter to 12 millimeter hollow tine, and yeah, players were super annoyed with me when when we started. Uh, but once we get over that kind of organic matter on the surface, it was like 4 or 5 centimeters that we needed to go down to. Um, Started to have that organic matter breaking down itself as well. Um, Now we are at the stage where we're just managing the growth and the growth rate, just diluting the tats every Friday with a bit of dusting. So we only do 2 aerations per year, one in midsummer, which would be with a 4 millimeter hollow times, just the tiny holes where we normally overseed as well to get some fresh grass starting. And midsummer for us is a good timing. It's normally really good growth rates, easy to get that surface back. Um, but it's also the biggest festivity in Finland is midsummer. So um, last Saturday of June, and most of the people, most of our golfers go to their summer houses in mid Finland. So we are almost empty here. So we can call the greens the previous week, let them set for the weekend, and then get back on Monday. Um, and then this year it's been quite wet, like I said. So I think we'll core them again with that small tine in September now. Just because we have a feeling it's been kind of growing too much and creating a bit too much stats or a bit too much organic matter. But that's basically it.
And if you're making 4 millimeter holes, which are less than a quarter inch in diameter, you're not filling those with sand, are you? You're just making some holes.
We're just making holes, dropping bent grass seed. We try to wash the seed in with hand watering, and then just top dress on surface to get. You're not gonna fill those holes; they're too small. But just top dress overall to get level surface.
And you're top dressing lightly every Friday through the season.
Yeah, I would say amount of top dressing goes is about 20 to 30 tons a year per hectare. So that's where we get to.
So you're putting 20 to 30 tons of sand per hectare. And if you're putting that on a Friday, I imagine that it has relatively small particle sizes, so it wouldn't have a lot of coarse or very coarse or gravel sized particles in it, would it?
Yeah, we use from zero point 0.4 to 0.7 millimeter particles.
So yeah, towards the lower end
Mm,
of medium type of material.
yeah, and that's a thing I've been kind of looking at. If we over time we might need to create some channels through that with a bit of coarser sand to get back into the certain composition in the surface.
What
So
happens?
that's
Does it rain? Do the surfaces stay wet, or with just repeated application of that sand, does the water still move through?
yeah, yeah, it does.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
we
So
about 100 mils I think from the surface at the moment if we measure with an infiltrometer. So
what is your irrigation water source?
um, everything is kind of harvested natural water. So we have a lot of water during the winters, so a lot of snowfall. Autumns are quite wet as well. So we have a pond in the lower end of the golf course, which collects all the drainage water in, and that's the irrigation water source. It's about a 30 to 40,000 cube pond. Um, so it's been quite almost enough for our summers, but last 5 years we've had long droughts in the area, so we ran out of water twice already. Um, so now we're actually doing a big pond extension there to get more of that harvested water in there.
So you're storing up the autumn precipitation and the melted snow in that pond that's increasing in size now, and then you use that through the summer, supplemented by whatever natural rainfall you get.
Yeah, that's right. So I've been calling it being self-sufficient on water. So we're just collecting whatever is available and use that.
What brand of equipment do you use primarily?
Um, we have a partnership with John Deere, so a John Deere fleet, um, but it's not the traditional fleet because of the robotics. So hand mowers, all the utility vehicles, tools like that, tractors, they're John Deere. And then robotics, what we're using is Husqvarna and Crest. So we have a partnership with both of them, and that's been a long-term partnership with both. So since we've been one of the clubs trialing them out, and we want to help them to develop their products. So we've kept working with both.
What are the three main pests that you deal with? And those could be insects, weeds, diseases, uh, weather.
Yeah, uh, three would be winter, winter, and winter. So uh, snow mold. So that would be the pink and gray snow molds basically. Gray is not as big of an issue, so Tifula, because our winters are not quite long enough down south. But if you go further up, then gray snow molds as well. Um, but ice damage would be like the biggest threat on the golf course. I When I'm talking to the club or if I'm consulting another club, um, really important thing is that you manage the winter. You have somebody, you're staffed to manage the winter. So if there is a case that you need to do something on the golf course, your staff cannot be on a holiday all the time. Somebody needs to watch after that. And I've said them that it would be as big of a mistake to not manage the winter and the ice, or not try to manage that, um, as you would just put Roundup on your sprayer and spray the greens in the spring. So
So
you pretty
it's
much create the same issue.
so it's common for ice to form on greens in Finland, and then you would typically try to remove that ice at some stage to have some hope of saving the grass. Is that Could you
That's
describe that
that's
problem
right.
for me a little bit? And when
Yeah.
you say manage it in the winter, what exactly are you doing?
Yeah. So managing that ice damage, there's different strategies to that. There's a couple of golf courses who are covering their greens and then just leaving it, covering with plastic, um, just leaving it over the winter. That's working sometimes. Um, then there is, well, obviously you need to understand what grass species you're working with because that kind of gives you the guideline. We are working with creeping bent grass on our greens, and that's something we want to keep as pure as possible. It can tolerate that about 3 months under ice without oxygen. So um, we just try to manage our greens so it's weekly watching what's happening under the snow. Somebody is scouting what's the conditions are like. We're using sensors as well um, to track down the moisture and temperature and oxygen levels. And we try to go all the way until mid-January without ice. So if there's snowfall and after that comes the rainfall, we always clear the greens, normally by hand in that time of the year, not to make any damage. Um, so if you get until end of or mid January, then I can let the ice come over. So here comes the other grass species like Poa annua, who only tolerates 2 weeks of that ice layer. So I can basically manage that power on my golf course by letting that ice come over in end of January, because I know it's going to melt down in early April at the latest. So yeah, that's the kind of strategy and management on our side. But then if you have power greens, you only have that 2 week period to react. And if you are deep in the winter in February, that might not be possible. So then you might think about covering your greens. Or then I also know golf courses that just decide that we just let them go because they're poor. You have that seed bank. You're always gonna know in June you have a great surface because you just during April and May you just carify them and top
Just
dress and fertilize them up. So
and then it grows back, but
yeah,
then you end up putting more nitrogen, and you're doing all of that disruption,
yeah,
which and you have all of these voids in the surface, so that
mm,
all of those things favor Poa annua. So it's a cycle
mm,
that you'll never get away from.
yeah, that's right, and that's why we don't cover our greens, even though I think that's a good practice for some of the locations, some of the greens, but not for our side because we want to manage that POA. If I was covering my greens every year, I would favor the POA to survive over the winters as well.
That's that's interesting. Do you consider this job to be a trade or a profession?
Yeah, it's a lifestyle.
Lifestyle. Good one.
Yeah, I think that's it. But yeah, definitely a profession. Yeah.
And the final question, is there a hobby or something interesting that all of the listeners should know about you that I haven't asked? Something about you that's not related to the work you do on the golf course.
Um. Yeah. Well, I told you about the summer house. That's what I try to do as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really Finnish thing to do. Your family has a summer house somewhere in mid Finland, and that's where you go to relax. You have a sauna by the lake. That's the mindfulness. But yeah, fishing would be a thing for me. Really love that. Um, so yeah, I think that's a good hobby combination to get
The
away from the
summer
hectic.
house,
Yeah,
sauna, and fishing. That sounds pretty good. How
yeah.
if you're if you're a typical golf course superintendent in Finland and you've got a summer house, how many kilometers away would that be from your home typically, and how often would you get to go there in the summer?
Um, we kind of call it that the whole capital area. That's where the city is. and then you go outside that, then your summer house might be in 45 minutes away, or it might be 10 hours away. It's a long country. So that probably dictates on how often you go there. But our summer house is about 3 hour drive away, about 300 kilometers. So um, try to go there at least every month. But I also do consulting in Finland, so I might be able to connect some of my visits to spend a weekend in the summer house during that trip.
That's yeah, that it's good when you can combine work with some yeah, so with some extra fun stuff.
Mm.
I try to do that myself, and I'm often able to, and it's it's enjoyable to be able to add on a trip to visit family or something like that when I'm also going to speak at a conference or making a consulting visit or something like
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
All right, Janne. Well, thank you so much for sharing your information with us today about the very interesting management of turf grass and managing the golf course there at Hirsala Golf in Finland. I I hope that some people will be informed and learn some new things about that, which I learned some things just talking with you because that is a climate and a part of the world that I don't get a chance to experience very often. What latitude are you in southern Finland, by the way?
Um,
53?
Something like that. Let me check that. Yeah, 60.
60.
Yeah,
Wow. Yeah. 60. That's pretty nice. Well, then that's why you get it light so you can still see your golf ball at 1 a.m. in
yeah,
the summer.
that's
Cool.
right.
All right. Well, that is the end of this episode of Turf Without Borders. So thank you, Janne, for joining us, and thanks everyone for listening and watching. And I will sign off now for ATC from Bangkok, Thailand. I'm Michael Woods. Bye bye.